young team with a young quarterback. It makes sense, but I don't want a piece of this, no.
Reed, you want a piece of it?
No. Not at all. Yeah, it's the number is nice. We rarely get to see these numbers. We actually do against the Patriots. We always like to see these, especially with their schedule that they don't play anyone. I mean, even Wayne Gallman is out, and you're bringing in your third string running back and signing your practice squad running back to make sure you have some insurance here. But no, I mean, when you just look at the Patriots too, they're second in first half scoring average this season so far. And if you're the Giants, right, and if you like this bet for the Giants, you're like, okay, well, if they can sneak into the end zone, kind of like how Washington did last week, and they can kind of hold their defense, the defense can hold a little bit, then maybe. But when you look at Washington's defense, they're 23rd in DVOA. So they really don't have a strong defense. And Steve and I were talking about this before the show, that they're just depleted at linebacker as well. And so when you have a guy like Sony Michel, when you have a run game as strong as the Patriots, is going to be tough. So no, good number, but no.
Speaking of Sony Michel, he has the best odds to score at least 2 touchdowns at plus 260, but you can get Brandon Bolden at plus 3,300. Now, Bolden scored last week and has 2 scores on the season. So chase or fade, because the game will get out of hand, Bolden has a good chance to hit this, Jeff.
I mean, you're basically just playing like Patriot roulette here if you're taking Brandon Bolden to score twice. Could it happen today? Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if like the backup fullback scores a touchdown here or something crazy like that, because that's what the Patriots do. They like to just bring in weird personnel and whenever you least expect it. And Brandon Bolden, obviously a semi-part of the game plan there. He's obviously been a Patriot for a long time. But, you know, this is a spot for Sony Michel, obviously, to get going. I mean, he had a good game last week. He's beat up on the weaker teams, too. He kind of beat up on Miami, beat up on the Redskins. So it seems like we're directed towards one of those games where Sony Michel might even find the end zone like 3 or 4 times. And if you recall to Patriots games in the past, guys like Jonas Gray, a couple other Patriots had like 4 touchdown games. This sets up as a similar sort of game for Sony Michel. At the same time, I don't really feel like you're getting enough odds here to chase Sony Michel for a double touchdown game. I might even go up to James White, who you know is going to get those receiving targets too, and then could get a red zone carrier too. So I rarely ever bet multiple touchdown games. I know this is a really good spot for Michel to do it, but I don't think you're getting good enough odds, especially with the Patriots and how they like to deploy their running backs.
Reed, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I'm echoing what Jeff is saying. If you look at the Patriots, this is really one of the only teams, right, that you can take these really long odds with some obscure running back and get some good ROI. But if you just look at just the landscape of running backs who do this on a weekly basis, or who can do this on a weekly basis, I mean, Christian McCaffrey is the only guy that I would actually feel any sort of confidence in doing this, you know, at any sort of impressive clip. And so if you just look at what he's done in the past, right, I would like that way much more, because he's the best running back in football right now, as opposed to Brandon Bolden getting 2 touchdowns at this number. The number is obviously fantastic. This is something we see in golf, these odds, but not here in football. I just rather stay away.
Steve, what do you think? These guys feeling like it could be any Pats player. I mean, you interested in this?
Yeah, one of the things you never really want to bet on is when it comes to the Patriots running back game. I mean, it's something that we just never can figure out week in and week out. Now, obviously, the loss of Rex Burkhead does open up a little bit more for Bolden, but when you look at what he's done in the red zone, or lack of what he's done, he only accounts for 3.7% of their red zone carries, which probably means like 1 or 2 that he's taken all season long. Like, this sets up nicely for a Sony Michel game, but we've also said that before this season. We've seen Michel almost be a complete non-factor. You know, James White doesn't really take any of the carries here, so I actually don't mind these odds on Bolden. It's not something I'm actively looking to take or looking to put a lot of money down on for, but with the return on investment here that you're getting, I don't feel like it's the worst bet you could make. If the Patriots have an astronomical lead at some point, there's no reason why Bolden can't be in the mix in this game. So with the odds that you're getting here, I don't mind this one. Don't be putting your mortgage down by any means, but you know, if you want to throw a little bit down, I think it makes plenty of sense here, because, you know, like we said, without Rex Burkhead, it opens up a little bit more for Bolden. If Burkhead was in this game, absolutely not, but him being out of this game does leave the window open.
All right, well, let's see. Tom Brady's passing total set at 280.5. Daniel Jones, the rookie, 224.5. Chaser Fade Jones will hit his over, and Tom Brady will not. Reed Muffin?
I'm going to fade this just because of that first part, right? We kind of learned in school that if one part of that question or the set of answers is incorrect, then all of them are, right? Always choose all of the above. And so I don't think I don't think Daniel Jones, I think they went over everyone's head, but
No,
I don't think
I got
Daniel.
it.
Is that a word problem, Reed?
I don't think
Jesus.
Daniel Jones can do it, and here's the reason why. When you look at, and Steve will touch on this because it's his favorite subject about weather, this is going to be a tough game for the passing attack on both sides. And if you just look at rookie quarterbacks, we've always heard this stat when they go to Foxborough since 2001, they're 0-17 against Bill Belichick, and that is a real stat because it happens all the time. Tom Brady, he's 258 average passing yards at home over his career. I don't think he needs to do it. Sony Michel, he saw a ton of carries, especially with Rex Burkhead out. He saw his season highs in routes run and in targets with Burkhead out last week. I think it's going to be a Sony Michel game. So no.
Chase or fade this for me, Steve.
So you look at what the Patriots have done to opposing quarterbacks. They're allowing an average of 197 passing yards per game. Now we got the rookie Daniel Jones coming into the game with absolutely nobody to throw to, and we want him to hit the over on this one? I don't think so. I actually like the under on both of these guys because, let's wait for it here, the weather's actually going to be kind of crappy. And this is actually a game where you can actually sit back and think, this actually might be a factor. Not those little wimpy games where it's like drizzling and there's 7-mile-per-hour winds. And everyone's like, oh my God, what should I do with Patrick Mahomes tonight? You play him because the wind's really not much of a factor. Tonight, it actually will be a little bit of a factor.
Wow.
With how
It's
they are.
not stopping anybody from, heading out to the game. That's
Yeah,
what
we
it
see
is.
No,
that
look at that.
traffic
That's a
coming
live
through.
look at a street in
It's
Boston.
a live
Our weather look.
look at it
That is
straight. Look at
amazing.
these two hosts. They are enamored with.
Where is that? Is
Don't-
that
they wouldn't-
downtown Boston?
No, you don't get
It's
where
That's
it's at.
Boylston
Boylston Street.
Street.
It's right
Good grief.
outside our office.
There are a lot of
I was
great
gonna say,
places
that
to
look, that
eat.
changes everything for me tonight. I'm taking the Giants now. Give me all the John Hillman props. Yeah, oh yeah, completely changes everything.
Prove it.
Yeah. Okay, Jeff, that was your answer.
No,
then, huh?
elaborate, Jeff.
No, I mean, I'm with Steve. I don't like the over in either of these props. I mean, there's too much chance that Brady just ends up handing the ball off for the entire fourth quarter. And Daniel Jones, I mean, the Patriots have faced, actually, if you look at their opponents who they faced at quarterback, it's actually pretty shocking. But at the same time, this is a really, really good defense just in all aspects, pass rush, secondary. So for him to hit over 224, 224.5, I'm not taking that. There's not a chance, even at plus money.
I didn't know we had the technology or the capability to take a live camera like that.
Emerson,
Of
this
Boylston
show
Street.
is live. So this is a live camera.
Also, Steve talking about the weather. That's something I didn't think would happen again.
Yeah.
Mark the tape on that one.
Emerson's got to process that, so we'll get your showdown picks coming up. But first, how about some ALDS Game 5 showdown picks?
Hey, Tyler Nazak here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. Another day, another manager fired in baseball. Gabe Kapler joined the likes of Joe Madden, Brad Ausmus, and Mickey Callaway after Philly gave him the axe Thursday. After an offseason where the team nearly invested $500 million in their roster, Kapler failed to lead the team to the postseason for the second year in a row. Owner John Middleton released this statement. Several years ago, I promised our loyal fans that I would do everything in my power to bring a world championship team to our city. I will never waver from that commitment. I have decided that some changes are necessary to achieve our ultimate objective. Kapler finishes in Philly with a record of 161 and 163, definitely not acceptable for a team with a payroll like Philadelphia. He also becomes the third consecutive Phillies manager to be fired after no more than 2 seasons. The team now begins their managerial search and will have some big names to potentially choose from. The Philadelphia Inquirer named Joe Madden, Buck Showalter, and Joe Girardi as favorites to potentially take over in 2020.
The scene is set for a doozy of an ALDS Game 5 tonight. The Astros won the first 2 games at home, then the Rays won the next 2 games at home. Tonight's game is for all the marbles. Winner moves on to face the Yankees in the ALCS. The loser, of course, goes home.
Which
Tasty.
brings us to showdown picks. No traffic cams for this segment. DraftKings contributors Steve Buchanan and Gary Thorne are here. Before we get to tonight's showdown picks, though, guys, everyone just watched the Fantasy Flash. Got to get your reaction here to the big news of the day. Kapler getting the axe. Steve, what do you think of that move? And could Dave Roberts possibly be next?
I mean, Gabe Kapler is just a scapegoat here. I know that the Phillies went out and made their big season acquisitions. They got Bryce Harper, they got JT Realmuto, and that's fine and all. But there were so many other areas that could have been addressed. Like their starting rotation was abysmal, their bullpen was abysmal, and Gabe Kapler only had so much to work with here. I know that they obviously didn't reach expectations. They've only finished no higher than third in the division, so I understand the move. I know there's a lot of candidates out there that can replace him, but I just thought it was kind of crappy on their end. Dave Roberts is on the hot seat every single season, it feels like. Failed.
But I feel like they're in the playoffs every single year, man.
Yeah.
2 straight World Series appearances. Like, come on. I know they want to win here, but wow.
I mean, pulling a Grady Little, keeping Clayton Kershaw in the game too long, the biggest fraud in all of baseball. Confirmed once again. I wish Matt LaMarca was on the show so I could go on Clayton Kershaw. But Dave Roberts should have been out of here, before this. I mean, I know he's made it to the World Series, but I just personally think he's a horrible, horrible manager.
All right, Gary, and your thoughts on the Kapler dismissal and if the Dodgers' defeat last night spells doom for Dave Roberts?
Yeah, look, I'm going to echo a lot of what Steve said. Look, I don't dislike Gabe Kapler in any single way. There's nothing about his managerial style that I'm particularly upset by. I know that some reports out of Philadelphia say they completely lost the fan base. I guess this is a move where you appease them, and the term Steve used, he's a scapegoat. That's really what this comes down to. When you spend the kind of money they did in the offseason, you don't make the playoffs, something was going to happen. But at the same time, managers are often, and this is connected to Dave Roberts, judged solely on their bullpen managerial moves. And when you have one of the worst bullpens in baseball, there's just not a lot to work with. And I also think losing Andrew McCutchen was such a massive blow that people have kind of stopped talking about it because it was 4 months ago. But there were just some negative situations and unseen circumstances that really took him down. For Roberts, look, last night was atrocious. A lot of what he did made me scratch my head, and I did not understand it. The Joe Kelly, the Clayton Kershaw, everything should be questioned. And you're probably going to see something akin to, Dusty Baker from a decade ago in Washington, even Joe Girardi 2 years ago in New York. It's at certain times you just need a new voice, and that new voice gets the benefit of stepping into a team that's probably going to win 100 games next season. So it's going to be a coveted job when I believe it does open up, and I think it's justified at this point. He's had 7 consecutive chances at the playoffs. At some point, you just have to come through.
It kind of sounds like the position Alex Cora walked into last year with the Red Sox. New and team wins more than 100 games, World Series. Kind of didn't build it, but took them to the title game.
Yeah, that's called taking credit for work you didn't do, but it's awesome. Okay, back to tonight's showdown contest between the Rays and Astros. Gary, who are you taking as your captain?
Look, I'm not a religious man, but 2.5 months ago, I found the light of if Garrett Cole is pitching, just trust Garrett Cole.
Wow.
And it's really just made my life beautiful. We're talking about a guy who has surpassed 40 DraftKings points in 4 of his last 6 games. I understand that recency bias might be against this archetype because we've seen the high-priced pitchers fail so often in these showdown contests so far this postseason. But I just don't know how you go away from this guy. This is sort of James Harden during that run without Chris Paul last season. Like, he's just putting up absurd numbers, and I'm not willing to walk away from it. And in a low-scoring game, or what I believe is going to be a low-scoring game, I'm going to take the opportunity to captain a guy like Garrett Cole.
Steve, you going to worship at the altar of Garrett Cole as well?
I mean, it's a fine altar, but, I'm going to go down to one of the pews and go down to Tyler Glasnow. Look, obviously Garrett Cole at captain is the play. Like, you can't argue that. But if you want to try to make at least some other things fit, Glasnow is kind of the way to do that, because at the end of the day, you have to take one of these pitchers in your captain spot. I don't see how it makes sense to take a hitter unless you're playing in a large field tournament or whatnot. But especially when you look at what Glasnow has done on the road, he's been basically untouchable. His numbers are absolutely insane. 171 WOBA, 2.42 xFIP, only 1 of his 4 home runs allowed. This is the guy who is able to keep the ball in the ballpark. Obviously, the strikeout upside with Cole is much, much higher here. But if you want to try to fit some of these big bats in, Glasnow does give you about a $3,000 savings in the captain spot. That can help you build out the rest of your lineup. So I totally agree with Gary with Cole, but I'm going to go with Glasnow on this spot.
All right, Steve, so who do you stack with him?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Tommy Pham here. He's one of the bats that I do want to pay up for. This is somebody that does not strike out a lot. He has one of the lowest K percentages on the Rays, so that's obviously something you like too. Has a 191 isolated power against righties, and then the biggest caveat here is something I haven't brought up in a long time. It's the BVP against Garrett Cole. You can't deny the BVP against him with Garrett Cole. 9 for 18, 2 doubles, a home run, 4 RBIs against him. If there's at least one bat I feel somewhat good about in this game, Tommy Pham would be the guy.
Remember Pierce last night trying to steal your BVP?
Pierce is very unoriginal, very unlikable, so it's not that surprising.
Gary, who do you stack with your captain?
I think there's going to be a very obvious and very popular stack with Garrett Cole. Michael Brantley's just so cheap and hitting second. I think that makes a lot of sense just as a bat in a high leverage spot. Not a bat that's produced so far this series, but someone who has the opportunity to put up good numbers at a very, very fair price. But I think really with these showdown contests, you have to pick a very specific narrative and just build your roster around that specificity. I know it leaves you open to having a terrible lineup, but someone like Roberto Osuna at $3,000, I mean, you'd think that that's a very clear-cut sort of stack with Garrett Cole, because you would think if Cole pitches well, not only does Osuna get a chance to come into the game, and we're not only talking about someone who's got a 29% strikeout rate for the season, but someone who even in game 2 was given the opportunity to go after a 4-out save when Garrett Cole left that game up 3-0. So I think Osuna works so well because there are still people who are very, very tentative about putting relievers into a lineup. You look even last night, I think it was pretty clear that at some point Sean Doolittle was going to pitch in that game for Washington with just the amount of left-handed bats in the Dodgers lineup, and his ownership was still below 10%. So people are still just afraid to get that giant red cross in a lineup that's about to go live, and I think you have to use that against them on a slate this small.
Gary, and where can you find some value here?
Well, I think that, like I said, Osuna at $3,000 is someone who you almost have to put in there to have a somewhat balanced approach with Garrett Cole. If you are looking to attack the Tampa bats, not as big into BVP, I will admit, but I think Austin Meadows is a very fair price, especially for a leadoff hitter, arguably the best bat and most consistent bat Tampa has in their lineup. He should hypothetically be in his preferred handedness split the entire game. If you basically just see the Astros roll out a combination of Cole, Osuna, maybe Ryan Presley, maybe Will Harris. Like, there's not going to be a lot of lefties they turn to in that bullpen, so you're never going to get a left-on-left situation. And he's had a very, very good season and a very high expected WOBA off of right-handed pitchers who throw 95 miles per hour plus. So there is a lot to like about Austin Meadows.
Steve, where are you looking for some value?
Yeah, I'm going to go way down the Rays order here. Go with Willy Adames. He's averaging 11.7 DraftKings fantasy points in this series. He's homered in back-to-back games. He's only 6,000 tonight, and he's batting ninth, which obviously isn't ideal, but you really can't look at this slate and look at a hitter and go, they're in a very ideal situation. They're going against the best on each team with Garrett Cole, Tyler Glasnow. So really, you're kind of just shooting in the barrel here and trying to hope you hit something. It's just something that you don't feel confident about at all. So at least with him, he's very cheap. He's down near the bottom of the order. Hopefully his ownership isn't too high either. So I like him at 6,000.
Alrighty, thank you, gentlemen. We're going to talk hockey with Ben Zwyman, who won't text me back in a couple minutes. But first, we'll hear from the Panel B podcast on tonight's Giants-Patriots game.
I was rooting for the Giants to be 3-0 with Daniel Jones coming into New England for a Thursday night game, just to have the hype before it. Now, we probably think even if he beats the Vikings, the Patriots still probably smash him down at home on a short week.
Would the spread have been 14.5 instead of 16.5?
Yes, probably. That's a very good guess. But it would have been more fun to talk about. It would have been more, had that pregame hype until Daniel Jones gets picked off in the first quarter and throws a pick six or whatever, and then it all goes away. But the big thing for this game is the totals dropping. Is the spread too big at 16.5? Because the weather in Boston the last few days has been really windy. It's supposed to stay super windy for Thursday night. It's supposed to stay rainy for Thursday night. This could be an ugly game that the Patriots are content winning 17-6, and you got your under, but that's not a cover, not even close.
Yeah, this would be one of the times where I'm actually looking at the weather. I think weather is so unbelievably overrated when it comes to football. But we have like this 3-day slow-moving
But when you
nor'easter.
have two weak-arm quarterbacks and Tom Brady and Daniel Jones.
Wind is more important than rain. That's the number one thing.
So I'll actually be looking at the weather for this one. But this game just screams, Sony Michel, a captain, Patriots defense.
Sony Michel.
Yeah, why not?
Could he maybe break a tackle?
Who cares? I mean,
what's the price difference between Michel and Pat Stee on Showdown?
Yeah, I'm on Showdown. So 7,600 for Michel, 6,200 for the Patriots defense.
Damn.
Why
I thought there would maybe be a little more of a gap. I kind of want to captain Pat Stee.
Yeah, which rightfully so. I mean, you look at their game log, it's been absolutely ridiculous. 14, 25, 11, 37.
They've been like
10.
one of the best weapons in fantasy, or for like season long if you've had them. They have won you a couple of weeks like single-handedly almost.
Yeah.
The man, the myth, the legend, DK Live editor, Ben Zwyman, in the house for, oh gosh, no you did not. Stop it. The ice is going to melt. Hot stuff. NHL opening face-off, though. That's what you're here for. We're choosing between the top options at each position on tonight's 11-game NHL slate.
Oh my God. We start at center. Huge slates with plenty of top centers available. 5 over 7K, McDavid, Matthews, McKinnon, Monahan, and Crosby. Who you got here?
Yeah, I mean, I'd sort of rank them the way that you listed them. I think McDavid is the clear-cut option the way the Devils are playing so far this season. They weren't very good against the Flyers last night. Again, they're second of a back-to-back. McDavid's been lights out. James Neal has been lights out, so I kind of like that Oilers power play. If I'm looking at a tournament option, though, McKinnon kind of stands out. It's a tough matchup against the Bruins. They're at home, so McKinnon's probably going to see a lot of Patrice Bergeron in that first line. But his price is a little bit affordable, and he's, again, a guy that can pop and has that ceiling. And if you're going to get him at low ownership, then I like that. But yeah, I think McDavid is the clear-cut option on this slate, and maybe AM34 sort of gets it going because that Leafs-Bolts game has a very high over/under of 7. But yeah, I think McDavid is the lock there.
Well, Boston's top-line wingers here, I'm taking a gander, both under $6,500. Well down the list of the top-priced guys in this category. There a reason Marchand and Pasta aren't priced higher? You like either? Perhaps both? Question mark?
Yeah, I mean, I love that entire line. I really don't know why they're priced down like this. I mean, maybe it's because they're on the road. They've started the season on the road, so their prices haven't really adjusted too much. But you look at last game, Marchand got it going, scored 2 goals, had 3 points. If that whole line gets it going tonight with the prices that they're at, we know what they're capable of. I don't think the Avalanche are a very daunting matchup. I think it's actually a pretty good matchup. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely stacking the Bruins a lot tonight. I love that line, especially if you look at their blue line. Torrey Krug and Charlie McAvoy are both pretty affordable. Yaroslav Halak's only $7,700. So I'm really on the Bruins tonight, and I think they're in a great spot.
Let's talk defense. The defending Stanley Cup champs are taking on the lowly Senators. So could the Blues blue line, jeez, oh my God, Blues blue line.
A lot of alliteration.
Oh God, be a good place to shop on this slate, or are you looking somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, the Blues blue line, that was...
Oh my God.
Damn, man, just don't say it.
They're going to be chalky tonight. The Blues will most likely be chalky. Alex Pietrangelo is $6,100. That's a pretty decent price for what kind of floor you're going to get out of him. Justin Falk is at $4,500, I believe. So yeah, both of those guys are great plays. But if I'm looking for more value on the blue line, I like 2 guys specifically. Matt Dumba of the Wild is down to $4,500. They take on the Jets. The Jets are sort of... They have a very, very, very shaky defense so far this season. They're on the road, but Dumba's going to skate a lot of ice time. He's going to be on that power play. He's got a pretty high floor and a decent ceiling. The other guy I'm looking at is Eric Gustafsson of the Blackhawks. That game against the Sharks. The Sharks have been absolutely awful. They've allowed 4 goals in 3 of their 4 losses this season. Whoa. They don't have a win. That Blackhawks-Sharks game has very sneaky game stack potential, so I like Gustafsson as another guy who's probably going to skate over 20 minutes. He's going to play on that first power play with Patrick Kane, who's a play that I love tonight, Jonathan Taves. So yeah, I like both those guys if you're looking for value on defense.
Well, let's talk about guys who score goals. Let's talk about some gentlemen who try to prevent goals from being scored. Those are goalies. Ben, the goaltenders in Tampa Bay and Toronto are priced down in what's expected to be a high-scoring affair. But could one of those goalies be a good play considering a good amount of shot volume could come their way?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, a good amount of shot volume. I really like Andrei Vasilevsky in this spot. Captain Steven Stamkos called out the team after the slow start to the season, so I think they really come out motivated against a division rival. In the Maple Leafs, Vasilevsky's price is $7,500. It hasn't been below $8,000 this entire season, so you're getting a pretty good discount. And like you said, the Leafs are going to pepper him with a lot of shots, and the Lightning are giving up a lot of shots. So you're looking at a chance for him to reach that 35-plus save bonus, which is obviously good. And plus, I think the Lightning have a very good shot at getting the win. So even if it's a high-scoring game, you're looking at the 35-plus save bonus for Vasilevsky. You're looking at the potential win for him. So yeah, I really like him tonight. If you're looking at another guy, though, John Gibson is probably my favorite play on the slate. We've seen what's happened to the Pens so far this season. They have a ton of injuries so far. Patrick Hornquist may get added to that list, so they could be without 4 of their top forwards tonight against the Ducks. So yeah, John Gibson's price is still down. He's one of the best goalies in the NHL, so I like him. But yeah, Vasilevsky stands out a lot. And Freddie Anderson also not a terrible play.
All right, slate approved pick time. Who's your lock for tonight's 11-game NHL slate?
Yeah, it's easy. Patrick Kane. Like I said, that Blackhawk game should go very high scoring. Patrick Kane has a very, very high floor and ceiling. He should reach that 5+ shots on goal bonus. He has the chance to get to that 3 points bonus. His price is $7,700, which is pretty good compared to some of the other forwards that are on a slate. McDavid is priced up. Austin Matthews is priced up. So yeah, I really love Patrick Kane. Jeff Ulrich, our colleague, also wrote on the DK playbook in his cheat sheet. He likes Patrick Kane a lot. I agree with him, which is unorthodox, but yeah. So Patrick Kane, I think he's the guy you got to lock into your lineups tonight.
And Jeff is Canadian, so
it's also not smart
true.
to agree with me.
Okay, but you are Canadian.
He's familiar with hockey.
So I'm going to believe what you say about hockey.
Fair enough.
I'd always side with you, Jeff. You're my favorite, buddy. But I guess I should say goodbye to Benjamin here, my little icy prince. Coming up, we'll take a look at this week's game totals with our NFL panel.
But first, here's a preview of the Professional Fighters League playoffs. Nailed it.
Get ready to enter the cage. DraftKings and the Professional Fighters League have partnered up once again to bring you closer to MMA action than ever before. Introducing the 2019 PFL Playoff Bracket Challenge game presented by Presidente, where you get a shot at winning a slice of $30,000 in total cash prizing. Here's how. Simply make picks for each of the 3 upcoming PFL playoff events on October 11th, 17th, and 31st by selecting who you think has the best shot to advance to the quarterfinal and semifinal fights in each weight class. Watch all the fights live on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus. Every correct pick will earn you points so you can take down the competition and climb the leaderboard, getting you closer to a piece of the prize. Each correct pick in the quarterfinals, that's going to be worth 100 points, and 200 points for a correct pick in the semifinals. You will have a shot at winning up to $10,000 in cash awarded to the first place finisher for each PFL playoff event. So choose wisely. Knock out the competition by playing the 2019 PFL Playoffs Bracket Challenge presented by Presidente on DraftKings, and watch all the fights on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus live from Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. All right, it's the PFL playoffs, and Randy Couture is here to break it all down for us, starting in the women's lightweight semifinals. How do you see Kayla Harrison and Jenna Fabian shaking out?
Well, it's a very interesting matchup, and in Kayla's 5 fights so far, I don't think anybody has really stepped across and hit her with a good shot right in the mug. And I think we're all kind of anxious to see how she deals with that adversity. She's dealing with a very, very good striker in Jenna Fabian. I think everybody knows where Kayla's strength is at, the 2-time gold medalist judoka. If she gets her hands on you, I don't care how big you are, how good a striker you are, you're going to have a serious problem. The question is, can she close the distance on someone as long and rangy as Jenna Fabian with the striking power that Jenna possesses? And that's what makes this a really intriguing match.
What are your expectations when the number 1 seed, Sarah Kaufman, battles Larissa Pacheco?
Well, Sarah Kaufman's obviously the most experienced female in the whole division. She's been impressive in both of her fights in the regular season. Pacheco is no slouch. We saw Kayla Harrison get very, very upset in the decision win over Pacheco because that's how good Pacheco is. So that's actually a really, really interesting, even matchup between the two, even though Pacheco doesn't have the experience. She's a game fighter. She's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It'll be interesting to see who imposes their will and really has their way in that fight.
So let's rip through the men's welterweight quarterfinal. John Howard versus David Michaud. What do you like about this one?
Well, John Howard's coming off an impressive knockout of Ray Cooper. He's got great power. He's a veteran. He's fighting a relative newcomer in David Michaud, who's got a great wrestling background from San Diego State. He's really starting to get his feet under him, but he's going to have his hands full with John Howard. Both guys have great power, so you never know what's going to happen.
So what do you expect when Sadabusi faces Ray Cooper III?
Well, a very interesting matchup because Sadabusi is 6'2" at 170. He's long, he's rangy, he's got a very interesting striking style, but he's also got some great submission. Cooper brings great power in both hands. Really going to be who can get into that proper range and land that shot. It's going to be a really interesting matchup.
All right, Magomed Kurimov clashes with Chris Curtis. You see this playing out how?
Magomed Kurimov is our returning champ. He's had a target on his back all year, but he's backed it up. He's had some great fights. This is a rematch from the regular season. Curtis lost in a decision in the regular season, so he's hungry. I think that the onus is always on the guy that won the first fight. What's he going to do different? What's that guy going to come in and change to get the outcome that he wants? And it's always a wild guess as to what that's going to be. So Curtis is hungry. It's going to be an interesting fight.
How big of an advantage does top seed Glyco Francois have on Andre Fialho?
Well, I think Andre Fialho is going to settle into this and have a full camp walking into this fight, which is a good thing for him. He took his first fight in the regular season on 10 days' notice. He got a walkover in his second fight to secure the number 8 seed. Franca is coming off of 2 finishes in his regular season bouts. He secured the number 1 seed with those performances. So he's coming in with a full head of steam. It's going to be an interesting matchup. I think you can make a case for either guy to win this fight. But Franca is probably the favorite after his regular season performance.
All right, people, watch it all go down on ESPN2 and ESPN+.
We're coming up on week 6 in the NFL. How did that happen?
5 weeks have passed, so
Yeah.
we're on to week 6.
But time just really flies when you're having fun. Speaking of fun, Jeff Ulrich, Reed Fowler, and Steve Buchanan are here for NFL Over-Under.
So will the following game totals in week 6 go over or under the projected number? Thank you.
That's great.
Vanna. We start with the Cardinals and Falcons. The total set at 51. Jeff, do you think this one goes over or under that mark?
This is going to be a fun game. A lot funner than whatever Jessie is doing, that's for sure. Battle of the Birds. I don't know what you want to call it. I mean, look, these are 2 of the fastest-paced teams in the NFL. And I first looked at this number and I was like, maybe it's a bit of a trap taking the over. The Cardinals have been having trouble in the red zone, but my God, Atlanta's defense is just so terrible. The yards per average they're allowing to the opposing quarterbacks it's just insane at this point. They can't cover anyone. They got no safety. They got no pass rush. I do think Kyler Murray is actually going to be able to put the ball in the end zone in the air a couple times in this game. And again, I mean, the Cardinals not much better defensively. So both teams kind of trending towards hitting the overs anyways, if you're looking at like the rate that the overs are hitting. I think 51 is actually quite a bit too low for this game. I could see this being 30 to 27 quite easily.
Wow, Reed, a couple one-win teams here. You agree this total's too low?
I know what to call it. It's the beak of the week here. Let's go. Come on. There we go. Look, it's easy to take the over here, right? You talk about both of these teams are top 5 in pace. When you look at their defenses, they gave up close to 4 touchdowns per game to the opposing team. But the offense is kind of scaring me. This is kind of what I was on with the Cardinals and with the Bengals last week, and the Bengals didn't really do their part. Cardinals did. But if you just look at this team, and especially the Cardinals, what scares me is they're the 3rd worst team in the red zone, 30% red zone rate. That's 3rd worst in the league. And we saw it last week too, and we've seen it in the first 4 or 5 weeks that Kingsbury, when he's inside the 20, he'd rather kick a field goal than go for it. And that kind of scares me a little bit when you're talking about this number. 51 is a sharp number. That is probably where it's at right now, so I like it. I just tend to go the over just because these defenses are bad, but I wouldn't be surprised if it went under.
Steven, talk to me.
This is such an over for me. Like, I don't know what Reed's talking about.
Thank you, Steve.
Worried about the offense. Like, this is the Falcons and the Cardinals we're talking about. I don't care how the Cardinals have been in the red zone. This is the Falcons we're talking about. Look at Will Fuller, what he just did against this defense. It's absolutely ridiculous. They could not cover him for the life of them. And now they have to face guys like Christian Kirk if he's healthy. I mean, I like Bird, Keyshawn Johnson. They're all in play for me in this game. I don't care what they've looked like in the past. This is a game where they will right the ship here in the red zone, away from the red zone. I don't care where they are. This is such an easy over. This is too low. I agree with Jeff totally. This game could easily push close to 60 points, I think.
Oh.
Next, we go to 49ers Rams, 50.5. What do you think of this one, Reed?
Yeah, 4 of the last 5 have gone over. I think when you gave Sean McVay an extra couple of days to prepare for a team, and Kyle Shanahan, that strong defense, I think with the Rams, they are the fastest paced team in the NFL right now. And so when you look at this spot, I mean, I think it's a great spot. You look at both of these teams where they're at right now. San Francisco is playing extremely well on defense, but I don't think this is going to be a defensive battle. I think both these teams are going to flex their offensive muscles for whatever reason, right? Either to show one up on each other. And I just like on the Rams side, I really like a lot of those players. We'll see if Gurley's going to be able to play. That does make a little bit of a difference, but I like the over here.
What do you think about this one, Steve?
I don't know what planet Reed is on today. Like, I feel like he is.
It's called the smart planet.
No, it's smart for dumb people. I don't know where he's coming from.
That doesn't make any sense
with this here. Relax. I don't know what you're saying doesn't make any sense.
Boys went to Jupiter to get more stupider, and guess what? It worked.
Exactly what Jessie did. I couldn't have said it better myself. This 49ers secondary has looked absolutely legit. Like, we really had some questions for them coming in to this game against the Browns. Obviously, the Browns have their own set of issues here, but the 49ers have just, in terms of fantasy points, have some of the least in the league. I know that the Rams are at home, which is always a much better spot for Jared Goff, but we've also seen his lack of consistency as well. This is a tough defense they're going up against, so I think this total is too high right now. I think the 49ers can handily win this game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think people are giving a little too much stock into the Rams because it's at home. But this defense, at least to this point, has looked absolutely legitimate, so I'm going to give it to the 49ers and this game 1 under.
Jeff, you going with Steve or you going with Reed?
Man, I feel like the kid who's the parent, who's got to pick their favorite kid here.
Listen, they still love you,
dude,
and it's not your fault.
The same.
It's not your fault, okay?
I'm sorry, Steve. I got to go with Reed in this situation. I like the over is 8-3 in the Rams' last 11 home games in hitting.
Thank you.
And look, the Rams. I don't think the Rams are going to be able to stop the San Francisco run game at all. They didn't really do very good job in Seattle at that. The Rams' pass defense hasn't looked good either. So George Kittle might get off. But George Kittle has gone off his last 2 times against the Rams. And then I know Jared Goff has had his issues and stuff like that, but the Rams passing game has been effective pretty much against anyone it's gone up against. So I do think St. Louis, I do think LA is going to be able to put up points as well, even though I admit, the 49ers secondary is looking good. They are a little bit banged up with Witherspoon out, though. Again, Cooks might not play, but Woods, Kupp, and the other guys in there, I think that's going to be enough to overcome that strong secondary. So I would take the over in the spot.
Ooh.
Join me on Planet Stupid. I enjoy it.
Been there for a while.
Eagles-Vikings total 44, over or under, Steven?
I'm going to take the under in this one. Like, you look at how these teams like to move the ball. It feels like it plays into the other team's defensive strengths. Like, we know the Vikings like to run the ball. The Eagles have been very strong on run defense. We know that the Eagles like to throw the ball. The Vikings secondary has been very good at this point. And you look at the Vikings, they're not usually a team that you'd like to target to hit the over. They're 1-4 on the year, while the Eagles sit at 3-2. I just feel like I said, they're just going to kind of butt heads in this game, and I feel like this game could end up being a pretty low-scoring game overall. The talent on both sides is undeniable. We definitely know that, but I just don't like how each team, how they play the ball, and then they have to go against the opposing defense. So I'm not crazy about the over in this one, so I'm going to take the under of 44.
Yeah, Jeff, Dalvin Cook, the key to Minnesota's offense, but the Eagles, killer run stoppers here, man.
Yeah, absolutely a killer run stopping. And I think that the problem is, is Mike Zimmer going to be flexible enough to change his approach? The answer has been no the rest of the season, so I don't know why it would be yes here. I just don't trust that the Vikings are going to be able to put up more than 20 points. The Eagles on the road, asking them to put up 27, 30 points against, admittedly, a softer Vikings pass defense, but still a pretty good front seven as well. So I see a closer game. I see the Eagles prevailing, but I would not take the over 44. I think if you do get over that, it'll be just slightly over. So I definitely lean under here.
Reed, does Carson Wentz outduel Kirk Cousins?
The battle we're all waiting for.
Oh, yeah.
No, these guys are right. I mean, just to give you the other perspective is they're saying, hey, look, I mean, both of these run defenses are really strong. So you put in the hands of the passers and the receivers here. And if you look at the Eagles secondary, they've been bad outside of that game against the Jets, but it looked like a high school team. That defense and that secondary has been bad, but the defenses on the other, like the rush defenses, have been extremely strong. So take the under here.
Thank you, guys. Back to Jupiter with all of you. We'll be right back with a look ahead to this weekend's college football games. Plus, we got some showdown picks to get to. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Carolyn Izak, and it's week 6, and this is when the injuries in the NFL really start to pile up. Christian McCaffrey is dealing with a back issue, and the Panthers aren't taking any chances with their star running back as they are going into maintenance mode moving forward. Fantasy players were freaking out yesterday when McCaffrey missed practice, but Coach Ron Rivera said that the Wednesday off day is the new norm for the 23-year-olds. With the way the Panthers have been using their star back on game days, it only makes sense to give him a breather during the week. CMC has been crushing it so far this season and was a standout in week 5 with 19 rushes for 176 yards and 2 touchdowns. He currently leads running backs in attempts, yards, and catches, all while playing in over 95% of the team's offensive snaps. So, season-long owners, don't worry about McCaffrey this Sunday. He'll once again be a focal point of the Panthers' offense against the Buccaneers. And as for DFS players, you won't have to worry about trying to fit him on your roster as McCaffrey is off the main slate, with the game being played early in the day over in London.
Lots of NFL talk on today's show, of course, but how about we mix in a little college football preview? That was just a little
foosball.
Ben Rassa of Awesemo.com is here to break down this weekend's schedule. Let's go.
Okay, sounds good. Ben, we've got Texas and Oklahoma throwing down. Yeah, the Sooners, 10.5 in the Red River rivalry. Red River rivalry. Who do you like in this game?
Yeah.
This is going to be a wild one.
Yeah, it is.
First of all, over-under's around 75, so points are going to be scored. I don't know how good Oklahoma is. I don't think anyone does. They haven't really played anyone. We know Jalen Hurts. We know they're explosive. They churn out Heisman winners. Texas lost to LSU. I'm actually leaning – I don't know if Texas can win the game, but 10.5 points is a lot of points. So if Ellinger – he seems healthy. I know he's got a little rib issue, but they should move the ball on Oklahoma. I think they will push him a bit. Stay inside double digits in this one.
Florida at LSU. Ben, LSU is a 2-touchdown favorite at home against the Gators. Can Florida cover that spread?
I'm going to stick with the Gators. They came through for me last week. They were at home in the swamp against Auburn, got it done, avoided the major injury to the quarterback. I thought they lost another one, but they didn't. At night in LSU is a problem, I'm not going to lie, but Florida's defense underrated. So I have a feeling this is more of a grinded out type game. 2 touchdowns and an over-under like that, I think they can stay inside the number. Although, again, I'm not sure if they can go in there and steal a win.
I need Florida to stay unbeaten. I'd love to see Georgia and Florida unbeaten for that Florida-Georgia game. And
Florida-Georgia line is a band.
Yeah. Okay. Anywho, yeah, it is all true. Which game has the potential to be the biggest upset this week in college football, Ben? This is a loaded question.
It is a loaded question. I'm going off probably most people's radars. I'm going out to Corvallis in Oregon. Oregon State, 2-touchdown dog at home against Utah. They're not good, I'll be honest, but they have a good quarterback and they're getting better. It's always a sleepy kind of weird place to play. And Utah, they're a quality team. They have a great defensive line, but at the same time, they haven't looked invincible by any stretch. USC beat them. BYU early in the year, not that they beat them, Utah handled them, but I think that this is a game that can stay close, and if Oregon State gets the right script, could be a trap game for a team like Utah.
Ben, which game could end up the most lopsided in college football on the Saturday slate?
Oh, boy. I went to UMass, so I hate to bury my own team here.
You did. Oh.
They are just god-awful. Worst team, I don't know how they beat Akron. That's another story for another time, but they're 31-point underdog against Louisiana Tech. Sadly, I don't even know if they can hang in. They lost 44-0 last week. I have a feeling it's another gigantic beatdown for the Minutemen.
Yeah, good luck to your crew, man.
Sad.
It is really, really sad. It's one of the saddest things ever. Good stuff, though, man. Appreciate you stopping by. You're always fantastic. NFL Showdown picks are coming your way right after this edition of Levitan's Leverage.
Week 6, Levitan's Leverage already. My goodness, I'm having a good time. Hopefully you're winning some money on this guy's advice, too. He's Adam Levitan. I'm Adam Kaufman. You feeling good?
Feel great.
All right, well, all your picks landed in double figures last week. Adam Thielen exploded, and as season-long Thielen owners often name their teams, you're hooked on A. Thielen because you're going with him again. Tell me why. And don't tell me it's just because you like guys who call out Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, no, I mean, we got Adam Thielen right last week at 12% ownership or roughly around there. I think it will be a little bit higher owned this week, but still a really, really good play against an Eagles team that has been absolutely shut down against opposing run games and then is really struggling in the back end. I mean, their secondary is just a total disaster. Everybody here in Philly is just begging Howie to trade for Jalen Ramsey. So I think as we see a game plan that should focus on more Kirk Cousins attempts, it's going to be really hard for the Eagles to stop Adam Thielen.
Odell Beckham Jr., you got to pay up just a little bit, $6,800, at least in comparison. He's home to host the Seahawks. Browns wideout only has 4 catches on 13 targets the last 2 games. So what makes you think he's going to flip the script now?
Yeah, I think if we look beyond the normal box score, like with Will Fuller last week, if we look beyond the normal box score to see that Odell Beckham is actually top 15 in the entire league in air yards, that he's still averaging close to 9 targets per game, and actually, they've had some pretty tough matchups, have the Browns. I think now home against Seattle, and everybody thinks this is the old Legion of Boom secondary. It's absolutely not. They are really struggling.
Okay, you got one more. That's Niners tight end George Kittle. Reliable last week. In fact, it was his best game of the year. 6 catches, 70 yards, and a trip to the end zone. 5,200 visiting the Rams. Torched them last year. You just living on Narrative Street?
Yeah, and also I think we see this often on DraftKings where the Monday night salaries don't get a bump. George Kittle is only 5,200. If salaries were released after he played his Monday night game, then I think that George Kittle would have been up around 6K. 6,400. So we're getting a really nice price discount here. We're also getting a spot where the 49ers wide receivers just continue to struggle so badly that we know Jimmy Garoppolo is going to look for George Kittle a lot.
Inching towards kickoff between the Giants and Pats, so let's bring in our NFL panel. DraftKings contributors Jeff Ulrich, Reed Fowler, and Steve Buchanan need those picks for tonight's showdown contest.
Jeff, who's going to be your captain pick tonight? Tell me.
I'm gonna go with James White. I know everyone's hyped about Sony Michel here, but I mean Rex Burkhead going out has really helped White more than it has helped Sony Michel. James White has 19 targets over the last 2 games, the leading the Patriots in that regard. And then you're going up against the Giants' run defense, who just could not tackle Dalvin Cook, allowed him to catch the ball 6 times. The Patriots love to use James White in the pass game. So I think with everyone looking to stack Sony Michel and probably the Patriots defense, and you should probably still play the Patriots defense, I like going with James White. He's cheaper and he's probably going to be lesser owned. And I think his upside is just as good, if not better, in the spot.
Alrighty. Steven, what do you think?
I'm going to be boring. I'm going to go with the Patriots defense. I mean, they've already accounted for 24 sacks on the year. I know, mind-boggling. 24 sacks on the year, just a sack rate of 11%. Since Jones has taken over, we've already seen him get sacked 9 times already this season. The Giants team total we know is abysmal, sitting at 12.5 right now. It's just, if there's a game that you want to captain a defensive special teams, this would probably be the one to do so. Obviously, with the wins in there too, no weather. That's obviously a factor too as well. But with the mistakes a rookie can make, I think the Patriots defense makes a lot of sense.
Reed, that leaves you. You're captain. Please tell me.
Yeah, give me Julian Edelman, not to be mistaken with Edlow.
Oh no, the big white.
Yeah, that's tough. I hope that questionable tag kind of takes some people off and that ownership is a little lower. And you just look, we talked about it too with Burkhead out. I think that's a big piece of it. With Devlin out as well, I think that funnels a little bit more towards the pass catchers. Even though that weather is bad, it's clearing up a little bit. Not as much rain. The wind is still there, and those are that short to intermediate routes. We know what Brady likes to do with the targets that he's comfortable, or with the pass catchers that he's comfortable with. He likes to target those guys, James White, Julian Edelman. This guy's seeing close to 8 targets a game. We know he can get double digits in some of those instances, about 5 to 6 catches. So again, hope that questionable tag keeps people off, because you just get that little ownership.
Okay, who would you like to stack with your captain, Reed?
Tom Brady, TB12. There we go.
We don't have that video,
do we, guys? Go check that video. Content creator, according to Billy D in the back there. But look, Tom Brady, why not, right? You like the pass catchers. You're going to stack them with the quarterback. And again, that weather, it's not looking as bad as of right now. And Tom Brady against this defense, we talked about him, and the linebacking core is depleted. No one scares you in that secondary. Janoris Jenkins, not someone that we're scared of anymore. We want that touchdown from Josh Gordon, obviously, but look, this guy's averaging over 320 yards passing at home. Even if you take 20% off of that, it still gives you about 280, and that's a good number for me, so give me TB.
Steve, who are you going to stack with your captain?
Yeah, so obviously if I'm going with the Patriots defense, I want to take somebody like Sony Michel. We finally saw a good game from him last week. We saw him carry the ball. We saw him carry the ball 16 times for 91 yards and a touchdown, and 3 rare targets for him. That's something that we really haven't seen from Sony Michel since he entered the NFL. He was very much targeted while he was in college. Just hasn't translated over to when he's come over to the NFL. I don't know if that's something that we're going to see on a more consistent basis, but it was to the point where he was lucky if he got 1 in any given game. So to get 3, I don't know if it's just a rarity or not, but if that's something they want to start utilizing him in more, that obviously ups his value even more. But like we said, the Patriots are huge favorites in this one. By the second half, I'm sure they're just going to be running the ball at this point. I don't expect this game to be close, so Michel seems like someone that would be logical to pair him with Patriots defense.
Jeff, who are you going to pair with your captain here?
Yeah, I mean, look, the logical scenario is obviously play Tom Brady, but I think you could also think about if you're going to captain James White, then maybe just throw Sony Michel in there too, because not many people are going to play both Patriots running backs. Maybe some people will, but I kind of like that idea just because the Patriots are probably going to dominate this game. They're probably going to dominate it through their running backs, and I think that's where you're going to get the most points coming. So you can definitely throw Brady in there. He's probably a candidate just because, again, we're playing a showdown. We don't have a huge point total. The quarterbacks are very valuable in this situation, but I think playing both Patriot running backs in this situation is very viable, especially with the weather. So give me Sony Michel and James White together tonight.
Okay, I need some help with value. Steve.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Darius Slayton here. You look at him, obviously the Giants just have nobody to throw to, at least nobody that we actually know is going to be taking the field. We don't know any of these names here, but Slayton is someone that's seen 12 targets over his last 3 games, has a 17.3 ADOT on the year. He's got a really tough matchup, though, going up against Jason McCourty. This is somebody who's been targeted against 30 times, has allowed just 15 receptions for 134 yards, but there really isn't a matchup for any of these Giants receivers that you want to specifically target against. But for how cheap Slayton is, for someone that's going to be on the field mostly every snap here, I think he makes a lot of sense because Daniel Jones is going to have to be throwing in this game whether he wants to or not. So I think Slayton makes a lot of sense here to save some salary.
Jeff, drop some value on me.
I am going to go a little bit off the board here. Everyone is on this John Hillman carry. I'm going to go with Elijah Penny as value, and I really feel like he could be like the sneaky play tonight just because, like I said, most people are just going to go to Hillman. He's getting the starts, but I mean, Penny played last week. I mean, he didn't quite split snaps with Hillman once Gallman went out, but he was on the field, and he's the one with NFL experience. And I quite frankly have not been that impressed with John Hillman. Like, I don't think he's going to be able to move the ball much. Penny works a little bit better in the pass game, in my opinion. And again, he's super cheap. You can kind of throw him in there as like your comeback play with the Giants, because if they do get down, we'll probably just end up dumping the ball off a lot. Red Ellison at like 200, whatever he's at, is interesting, but Penny at least has a little bit more touchdown upside. So yeah, Elijah Penny, I think, could be a sneaky play tonight.
Bree, do you like what these two guys have delivered?
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to find value in this game that's going to be extremely lopsided. It's hard to take any Giants pass catcher, offensive guy. And Darius Slayton, I think he's going to get a lot of ownership because of what Steve was saying. He's that big play guy. All he needs is one to really break it. And we've seen that against the Patriots. That's how you're going to have to score on the Patriots, is broken coverage. And then that's when they score. But if you just take a look at what they do in their defense, they haven't given up a passing touchdown since the AFC Championship game of last season. Yes, they haven't really faced anyone of notoriety, but that is an impressive feat. That pass defense is extremely nice. So if you don't want to go with a guy that potentially might be on a slate, Cody Latimer is there. He's run 30 snaps on average over the last 2 games. I think that increases with a lot of those pass catchers being out. He's someone that can find the end zone. But Jacob Johnson, talk about a guy that's close to the mid price at $600. He's a fullback for the Patriots, and we've seen how they use James Evelyn. We talk about how this running back, this backfield of the Patriots is sort of a carousel. Why not throw a dart at $600? If he gets in the end zone, that's extreme value. There might be some people playing him, but You want to try and find value on that Patriot side. It's going to be hard. Rhett Ellison is another one, but that's an extreme dart throw.
Okay, what about someone you're totally fading tonight, Jeff? Somebody you just want to stay away from?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of to Reed's point, but I'm fine fading Golden Tate here. I mean, I think most people are just going to gravitate towards him because they're going to be like, oh, Golden Tate, he's like the only receiver out there. He's got to catch some passes. But this is just a Patriots secondary that does not allow passes anything, really, passing touchdowns. So I think if you're going to go with the Giants, like I said, you might as well get a little bit creative and go with a player off the board like a Penny or Darius Slayton might catch some ownership too. But I think baiting Golden Tate here is fine. This is not going to be a huge offensive performance. Golden Tate's going to be highly owned. I think that makes for a perfect swerve play for me, so I'm okay fading Tate in this spot.
Okay, I mean, who are you fading tonight, Reed? Somebody you're just not interested in. You're freaked out.
I think Daniel Jones is an interesting candidate. I mean, no one's going to be starting him. But yeah, I just, you can't have any faith. If it's the receivers that we don't have faith in, right, they're obviously tethered to the quarterback and vice versa. You just look at this team, I don't think they're prepared. We mentioned at the top, it's kind of this unwritten sort of giving up this and conceding to the Patriots that they're going to win this game, that all their skill players, even if they're questionable, trying to get in this game, they're not doing it, right? They want to make sure these guys are safe. They don't want to injure them. They're more long-term. This is the future of their team. And Daniel Jones, I talked about the stat with Bill Belichick and rookie quarterbacks. He's going to have an uphill battle. So Daniel Jones would be the guy I would fade.
Steve, who are you going to fade?
Yeah, I agree with Jeff. I think it's Golden Tate here. I think people are just going to automatically gravitate to him because he's one of basically the only players that you recognize that's in this Giants offense. But you look at what Jonathan Jones has done covering the slot for the Patriots. That was always a spot they were vulnerable last year, but he has just been so good in the covering the slot this year. He's been targeted against only 25 times, allowing 12 receptions for 118 yards. He's just had an absolute lockdown in that spot. So I think Golden Tate is a really attractive name overall, but for for an offense that's going to struggle, I don't think he's a must for me at all.
We have a couple questions on YouTube. Josh Gordon or Terry McLaurin in standard, Steve? So clearly someone needs to know if they should roster Josh Gordon tonight and play him.
Yeah, I think I would go with Scary Terry. Obviously, like we keep saying and joking about, but the wind is going to be a factor tonight. Josh Gordon is most effective in those downfield shots. I don't know how much they're going to be able to get that or really need it at all. So I think Scary Terry is not in a great spot overall because it's going to be a low-scoring game, but I would rather him against the Dolphins.
Gets Keenum back, too.
Jeff, need two here. Lockett, Gordon, McLaurin, or Gallup? Gallup. Wow, that was weird.
It's like way too many people for me to remember. Lockett and Gallup.
Those are, yeah. That was the first one and last one I said.
That's only what you remember.
Hold on. We have one more.
Fair enough.
Be quiet. 30 seconds to go. Reed, you could start either James White or Damian Williams in your lineup. Which one are you starting? It's a PPR league. This is huge. 20 seconds.
Let me see here. James White. This is a very important question.
Yeah, this is James White or Damian Williams.
Yeah.
This guy says it's an emergency. He needs it answered now.
Yeah.
It's James White. Thank you.
It is James
10.
White.
I'll go James White.
I think this guy
James
trusts
White.
you, Steve.
It's James White. All right, we got to go. We'll see you tomorrow at 6.